Alli Kennedy, welcome to the Marketing for Business podcast.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Scott.
Well, a few people told me that I needed to have you on the podcast because you've done something pretty special, and more of that in just a second. But let's go to the start. I read on your LinkedIn profile that you did a BCom, majoring in strategy and entrepreneurship with a minor in innovation.
Yep,
That
that's
to
correct.
me sounds like a lot.
Honestly, most people would probably tell you it's the other way around.
Yep.
I like to say I was a part-time student getting the full-time student loan.
Brilliant.
No, it was very much, I wasn't at uni a lot, but you were out there working with businesses, starting your own business and trying to make things happen. I think that was the main concept of it. But yeah, it was something a little different, I think, than a lot of universities offer in the commerce space, which was really fun, and how everything that we're going to talk about kind of got started.
Well, thing is, in my office here, I'd probably be the only one without a degree. And my philosophy is employ smarter people than yourself, and I've done that quite successfully, I think. So it's great to have you here. But here's the thing: I know you did something else, and I really want to talk to you about it. And you are the creator of this fantastic board game, Sharenanigans.
Yes.
How good!
Thank
Look,
you.
I just want to say something. My son and my wife have played this game. My son said this game is better than Monopoly.
That could be the best bit of feedback I've gotten. You can't beat that.
And look, when you've got a 12-year-old, or soon to be 12-year-old, and all they really want to do is play video games, Fortnite, whatever is on the iPad and everything else, getting them to play a board game is a real win. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I always say the feedback from children is always going to be the most honest, so I will absolutely take it.
Yeah, so for me, quite fascinating, like a board game. Where did this all start? Like, I've read some stuff online, but I've got a bunch of questions. But you tell me, where did this start for you?
For as long as I can remember, if you asked me when I was a child what I wanted to do, I would say own a business.
Cool.
I probably didn't even know what that meant at the time. I just remember my mum owned her own small accounting business, and she just had a more flexible lifestyle. She's going on coffee dates in the day, whereas Dad was away from 7 a.m., 6 p.m. And I just thought, whatever Mum's doing, I want to do that. And eventually was told she owns a business, and that kind of stuck with me. So all throughout high school and even in primary school, my very first business, Heeley shoes, which had wheels in the bottoms of them.
Yeah, true.
I got a pair of those, and everyone wanted a go. So I started renting those out, $5 a day, or $5 for the week, and you could wear my shoes with wheels in them.
How good.
And my reading logbook turned into Who's Got My Shoes logbook. And it didn't last long, but that was kind of my first taster. And then throughout high school, it was business, and then we got to university knowing that I was going to study entrepreneurship and innovation. And that's in one of my lectures, we had to pitch a problem, and my problem was that we don't know enough about investing in shares in New Zealand. And so started to deep dive into that. When you're at university and in the world that we live in, tech seems to be the thing that's pushed at us. So started as an app teaching how to invest in shares.
Oh, wow.
But as most things are these days, and was talking to parents and teachers at the time. I worked in a high school, and I was being told, good luck getting my kid off TikTok and onto an app about investing. Teachers saying we're trying to get kids off devices. So really had to start to think about, what do my potential customers actually want? And we were just talking about Michael Dury, but Michael Dury was the person that said to me, this kind of looks like you're designing a board game.
How good. And
from that moment on, I went and trialed fast, failed fast, and kept working on it until I got Sharenanigans about 2 years later.
This is awesome. One thing I heard at the start was the flexibility. How's that working out for you?
Oh, probably not as much free time as I thought there was going to be. But you do, what I like about business, and what I've always liked the idea of, is you do the hard mahi, but you keep more of the reward.
My son said to me, he said, we were actually playing your game. We were talking about investing in shares, and he goes, Dad, what all you do is you invest in shares, you run a business, and you go on holidays. And I'm like, seriously, if that's what you see,
it's a great outside perspective.
That's not a bad outside perspective, because I believe doing the work, doing the mahi, do the work, but also celebrate your victories and go on holidays. Because like for me personally, my son's 11, soon to be 12. He's not going to want to be around us much longer, as far as, we've probably got a few more years left.
Yeah.
So go on adventures while you can, right?
Oh, absolutely. I was actually just talking, and I don't want to go too off on a spiel, but I was just talking to another founder yesterday about the whole this hustle mentality in startups versus, having that balanced lifestyle. And for me, I want to do what I meant to do in early 20s and travel and have fun and still, have fun with my friends.
Totally.
So I don't think there needs to be this massive sacrifice that a lot of early stage startup owners think there needs to be. I truly believe in that balance. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, if you can think a different way, you can act a different way, right? So that's the belief that you need to set and go after. One thing, what I loved hearing when you just talked about there too was you had to pitch a problem. So first you had to discover a problem, right? So many people, they build a product where they think the problem is, right? And, I learned really early on, and I remember selling plastic toothpicks, and I learned really early on by getting thrown out of a bar, basically, that people don't buy what you think they need, they buy what they want.
Yeah.
And you started with the problem, but then you got even better at that. You started listening, because people know that there's a problem with teaching kids about money and finances and shares and all that sort of stuff. But you're not going to solve that problem with an app.
No.
Because you're not going to have people going to sit down, and because I think what this brings to it is what board games bring to it, which is fun, togetherness and family in an environment where you can actually teach through actions. And also what I learned about this game even last night is you can get schooled by younger people on it too, which is kind of fun.
That's the point. It boosts their confidence.
Yeah, and that's the fun part about it. So you pitched the problem, and you found the problem. You found the real problem, and then you listen to your marketplace. There's a masterclass just in that if you're watching. Right? Too many people just build a product that they think the market needs.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when we started Sharenanigans, we thought we knew the problem. But what you need to do is deep dive, what is the real problem?
Yeah.
And it changed from when I initially started looking at the app, there's a lack of knowledge about the share market. By the time we got to what the board game is today, the problem that we're addressing is there is a lack of conversation around the share market.
Okay.
Because if you want to learn and you decide one day, I'm going to learn more about the share market, you go on Google, you go on YouTube, you go on TikTok, and you can learn if you're willing to put in those hours and you know that you want to learn it.
Yeah.
What we're missing is that before piece of what's actually sparking that curiosity in those children or in older people as well when they've never heard of what investing in shares is. That's what we're now trying to focus on. Because
it's been very, I guess, kind of exclusive to some degree. Like I remember back in the day, a friend, probably 5 or 6 mates, we had a share club, right? We would have been 17, 18 at the time, and we thought we were bulletproof. We learned pretty quickly that we knew nothing. We had this young guy, he was the share broker of the year for this big firm in town, and it didn't take me long, but I realized why he was the share broker for the young share broker, because he was trading us in and out of shares, and we were losing money because he was trading us out of shares. If we just stayed in some of those shares, we'd be rich today, but he was sharing. So the company gave him the title of the young share marketer of the year, which made him look good to all these other young people that started buying off him. But you don't know what you don't know, right?
Oh,
and this
absolutely.
is why I love the conversation that this is starting, because that is the conversation, because it's not that exclusive anymore, right? Anyone can invest in shares.
Oh, absolutely. We have some amazing platforms accessible to us. But once again, the problem then stands of if we don't understand what it is, we don't understand how to use them. There's a lot of day trading in how people use these apps that are out there, and they check their phones every day to see if their shares have gone up, when to sell, and really that's just not what investing is about. I mean, hey, if you want to day trade, I'm not here to give advice, but also there's a lot of learning that needs to happen behind it.
And that's the good thing about it, is like start that conversation early. Like start it so it's not a conversation that's a mystery.
No.
Because if someone had talked to me at 11 about share trading, I would have gone, boring as, but you bring game home and all of a sudden, hey, let's play. Yeah.
Well, that's what it's about, is if you can play a game when we say from the age of 9, if if you're playing Shenanigans at 9, you just think it's this fun game about this topic called investing in shares. You then get to 18 and something sparks your memory about the Shenanigans. And you think, oh, I actually now want to learn a little bit more about the share market. It can't be that hard because I played that fun little game back in the day. That's what it's about. It's about no longer being a taboo subject once you get to a certain age. And so often I find that people have these perceived barriers of who you have to be, what it takes to start investing. Where, you know, it's no longer that case. You can invest with $5 if you want.
And that is the cool part about it. And your game does let you know about that too, right? How you can actually get started. What I love about what you've done there is you brought in elements of gamification as well, but you've also got goals. And I think that was one of the coolest things when I saw, because I love goals, right? And to actually have a goal in the game, but it's a goal that everyone's going for. And I thought that was really, really cool. So where did the concept, like, you must have spent hours putting this thing together. Like you've obviously, you know, like you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking and you're wanting to solve problems, but you know, when it comes to creating a board game, there's a lot of moving parts here.
Yes. I think I would have started designing the game probably 2.5, 3 years ago now. So it took a lot. I was in uni, so it was kind of like something that was on the side for a bit. But yeah, started talking to, I'll go back a little bit more, as I was still in the journey of actually learning what investing is myself. That's what sparked this whole thing. Didn't get taught it in schools, wasn't really talked about in my household.
And what were you doing to learn?
Honestly, just started Googling, like, what is investing? There's a lot of really simple articles and videos out there to help you get started. And that's when I realized it's actually not that hard to get started. You just have to be willing to you know, read and watch for a little bit, but it's actually not as scary as I made it out to be. But when I decided that I wanted to create something for other people, I still wasn't the expert of the topic, still not. But I started reaching out to people that were. So investment bankers, fund managers, anyone that would be wanting to sit down and have a coffee. And I was talking to them about what are the key things they would want to know if they were to start investing again. And basically kind of collated those and put it in a game form.
How good. What was their feedback like? What was their kind of like, were they going, this is a great idea, or that'll never work? Well, how were they kind of approaching it?
I can't think of one person who didn't think, we need this. I mean, a lot of them it probably would have, you know, it helps channel people into their field of work. But everyone that I spoke to, it was the same thing of investing in property is so prominent in New Zealand. It's not that we're trying to say people should invest in shares over property, but it's, hey, there's this other option out here that you might want to explore a little bit more. Or like you can do both, but it was always just not enough people know that investing in shares is an option for more people.
And when you start to look at that landscape and how it's changed now, you know, Robinhood in America, which is the Sharesies of you know, like in America, and Sharesies now are giving people those, you know, we have a win of the week here. We have a little cup and also a $20 Sharesies voucher. And I tell you what, or you have the option actually, you have a $20 Sharesies voucher, or you can get the car park out the front. We have 3 car parks. You can have one of those for the week. No one takes the car park.
I was going to ask. I'd love to know the people ratio.
No one takes the car park. Everyone wants the Sharesies voucher.
Awesome. That's cool.
You know, so you know, I think more and more even young people want to know about shares. You know, maybe as property has started to become, you know, out of reach for some people. Okay, well, what can I do with my money? And shares is part of that conversation, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's very topical at the moment, and I think that's what is surprising about now that we've got the game out to the market, we can start talking to our customers, is that I originally thought, right, children have to play the game and just think it's a fun game. Parents have to see the educational value. What's happening is the children are playing the game and all they care about is the financial information within the game. They want to know How do I make this real life to make money? So it's funny that the excitement that just knowing about more financial things and knowing about money actually makes a difference. And we've heard some awesome stories around that.
And that's a conversation I've had with my son since it, like making money and how to make money and how money is made, and that's, as a parent, that's a gift, right? Because, like a lot of New Zealand families, money was just not talked about at all. And that's one conscious thing that me and my wife have made a decision. Hey, we're not going to be like our parents. We're going to talk about money. And we've done a lot of work in that area, and have shown our son how to invest in shares and that type of stuff, even at his young age. But just having the game now makes it even more fun to do that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So when you're learning from the bankers and getting these ideas and concepts together, were you kind of starting to think how it could all wrap around the game, like in the gameplay? Where do you learn to create a game though? I know we've all played games and we go, oh yeah, we understand Monopoly and we understand Risk and all this sort of stuff. I think I probably could create a Connect 4 game. Like that wouldn't be too hard, but anything else that seems complex, right?
Yeah, my disclaimer around it is always I grew up with just me and my dad in the household. We were not a board game family because not many board games cater for two people. So I didn't actually grow up playing many games. So true. But the day I decided it was going to be a board game, I went to the warehouse and I bought a Monopoly board.
Nice.
If your competitor's doing it right, you may as well look into it a little bit more.
That is a game of, like that's generational.
It is, yeah. And we were trying to, become the new modern money game.
Cool.
Bought Monopoly and just really looked at, I suppose, the elements of it, but then just covered it in paper. Got rid of it, covered it in paper with blue tack and started doing different game trials. So I knew that I wanted to have kind of sliders to show share market, which you can now see in the game as well. But there was a lot of drawing. There was a lot of different gameplay, pulling paper off in the middle of game trials, sticking new paper on. Anything that I could do for free and quickly, I was trialing it. And so one of our first proper editions was I went to the warehouse. So we had printed out circle board, which you can now see now. And we had the market sliders, which was a fishing tackle box, which I bought from the warehouse, and zip ties that I had cut and then slid on backwards so they could slide up and down. And then lots of circle tokens that I had just purchased as well. And we used that as the game for probably a year of trials.
Like the MVP, right? Minimum viable product, get it going, get it working. Did you have people start to come and play the game and give you feedback and that side of stuff?
So straight away, just people around me at uni started getting to play. Flatmates, I had six flatmates at the time, made them play it. I still live with them now, so
brilliant.
We currently have three purchase Sharenanigan boards in our flat. I'm like, guys, you know that I have plenty if you wanted to play. But they played the OG original version, and now they see the proper version. But MVP is always fun to look back on.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? So you're starting to get feedback, and starting to evolve it. When did you realize you've got something here, and this is a product that could fly?
Probably so right at the early stages of saying I want to do this board game. I had mentors throughout university and reached back out to them being like, hey, I've kind of developed in what my old app was going to look like, and I've developed into a board game. And they owned a design marketing agency and really saw an opportunity to be able to make it look like something. And I remember receiving their first lot of designs of what the game could look like and what the logo could back. And I was like, whoa. Wait, you mean we could just take this to a manufacturer and we have a product?
Nice.
But that was probably seeing actual designs rather than my drawings.
Yeah.
I was like, this is
something.
It, right?
How good.
But it probably wasn't until I successfully did the Pledge Me campaign where that's when it hit me of, oh, now I actually have to make this happen. Like, I have taken people's money and they are expecting shenanigans. So let's do this.
Where did the name Sharenanigans come from? Like, because it's a cool name. Like, I like it.
Well, we actually were called Dare to Share to start off with.
Oh, yeah.
So it was Dare to Share
Dare to Share.
Yeah. And it was, Dare to Share for probably the first year and a half.
Oh, wow.
Then I didn't trademark in America.
Yep.
And an American game came up and decided they were going to be called Dare to Share. Not a share market game, but they were just winning like the whole SEO that was gone. So we made the decision then right before we were going to launch to change everything and change the name. So we had a big old brainstorm session trying to come up with a new name. Didn't get anywhere, but one thing I am really good at in meetings is just shenanigans.
Yeah.
As soon as an hour's over, I am all over. I've lost the plot. And think I got probably told off by the end there we're wrapping it up because you're no longer helping us. And just, I think 10 minutes after the meeting, one of the boys was like, what about Sharenanigans?
Wow.
And it stuck.
and seriously, it's a cool name. Like, it's because the shenanigans part of it is actually in the game.
Yeah.
You know, like the cat and the fat cat and the wolf are kind of up to things, right? Which is part of it. Yep. And shenanigans happens in real life. Shenanigans happens in the market. Like, that's just what goes on, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's so talk to me about Pledge Me, because I think that's really interesting and interesting for the listeners. A lot of listeners here, you know, business owners and, you know, looking maybe to fund something. And where did the concept, or like the concept was there, but where did the idea to put out on Pledge Me and really go to see, you know, to get funding behind it? Because from my understanding of Pledge Me, if you don't get the funding, you got to give it all back, right? So you got to get to that point that you need or want, and then go from there.
Yeah, I think I was tossing up with crowdfunding for a while, and you see quite a lot of games in America go on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And for me, it was one of those things where in the university, you'd see all the tech startups get investment.
Yep.
They're bringing on investors for sometimes millions in return. And I remember thinking, I don't have enough money. I'm a student. I don't have enough money to just place my first order. But realistically, that's all I need to do. I just need to place that first order with however many tens of thousands, and that's me away. I'm not trying to develop this new big startup to take over the world type thing. But
well, the coolest thing about what you've done is actually you use the money to get things right and get it going, where a lot of technology companies get the money and end up doing nothing.
Yes, yeah.
So kudos.
Yeah, and also I knew that it was going to be an awesome way to test the market. We had heard of businesses that had tried to crowdfund and it didn't work, but they received such valuable feedback from that process that they then went and made changes, launched it and were successful. So I thought, you know what, if this doesn't work and we don't get our funding, so our goal was $40,000 in 3 weeks.
Nice.
If we didn't make that $40,000, then like you said, we didn't get any of that money. So it was an all or nothing mentality. But if it failed, then I was like, well, maybe there's not a market for it. You know, maybe I've done this wrong, and you either go again, you find a new way, or you make some changes. So yeah, I kind of saw it as a win-win. I'm not losing anything from running this. You may as well give it a go. But it turned out to be amazing because we built a community during it. It was something that people could really get behind, and you had that as soon as you pledged when it was only $100. It was people were checking it every day, being like, oh, we've got to get there. They were spreading the word. It almost became competitive in their mind as well.
Yeah, they're backing you.
Yeah, but that was probably 3 and a bit weeks that I remember being the most stressed out I ever have in my life.
You'd have been checking your phone.
Oh my God, the amount of times I refreshed that page. And yeah, it was touch and go.
Yeah. You got some good PR though during those times. Like, talk to me about that and how that played a role in what you were doing.
Yeah, so right from the start, we knew that kind of putting my face at the forefront, that was going to be almost our marketing strategy in a way. And with that, it meant that we could get a lot of free PR. It was knowing that we really had a strong story, one with the financial literacy aspects, and then also tying into, I suppose, the young founder, that sort of thing. So it meant that we basically got a database of all these PR or all the big media in New Zealand, and I just started sending out my media kit. I started sending out my story, calling anyone, any producers that I could kind of get contacts to. And yeah, so we were on podcasts, radio, a lot of the papers, local papers around New Zealand and the press. And then our big one was being on 7 Sharp. So that was really touch and go. It took us a long time to set that up. Because it was during the time of the Olympics as well.
Oh, wow.
So I was really hoping every day that I was locked in that we weren't about to win a gold. I was probably the only Kiwi.
You get bumped.
going against, so I was getting bumped. But yeah, a couple days before the Pledge Me end, we got a 7 Sharp interview. That 5-minute 7 Sharp interview made us over $20,000 in sales.
Wow.
So that was, I still say I don't know, but I don't think we would have got the Pledge Me over the line if we didn't get that sort of outreach.
Mass media.
But also in a really organic way where it wasn't me trying to push a product. It was just our story. And people, that's probably when I first learned of people, they really, I suppose, had a touch point in the more personal side of the story and the game and our main purpose of what we were trying to achieve.
Yeah, that is very cool, right? Like obviously, but let's be real clear here. You actually had a media strategy, right? Like you had a PR kit. Like a lot of businesses could learn from that, right? What have you got that you could be executing, and you didn't just send it out to one and go, hey, let's hope this works. You were sending out again and again and again and again, getting in the press, getting in papers. Yeah, you've got to be annoying. But here's the thing. If you want it to fly, you have to put a lot of energy sometimes into it, right? You can't just make something. That's another thing I see all the time. People make something and then go, right, it's done. Well, it's not done. The marketing of it is probably where it really starts to get real too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And you've just got to hope New Zealand didn't win a medal, and then we didn't, and you're away to the races, right? Because the impact of that. Hey, and look, at the end of the day, you probably would have got more, but you got the money that you needed. Why did you need the 40 grand? What was that just you needed to get that to get the first order? Yeah.
So that was basically our minimum that we needed to really get things off the ground. So to make sure we had enough money for production, for all the logistics, and then for some ongoing expenses as well as we got things off the ground, marketing, and covering everything like that. But I definitely.
So now I've got a bunch of money and I've got a bunch of people that have pledged, and they're you've obviously created a community now, which is really, really cool. But now they want their content, they want their game. Where does the game? Where do you go to create a game?
Yes, so that was a whole nother process, was finding a manufacturer. The way I found a manufacturer was I reached out to other New Zealand board game companies. And I said, hey, I'm looking at starting my own board game about the share market, because then they kind of thought it was more educational and didn't, fully compete with them. And 90% of them got back to me. They told me their manufacturer. I had one company, which they own Rugby, the board game, which is a cool New Zealand rugby board game. And they told me their logistics partners, any person that they had worked with to help them get the game ready to be produced or ready to be sold.
That's awesome.
They let me know. So I kind of had a look at what all of them told me, because it's really hard with all the options out there, especially when you look at Chinese manufacturers, how to know what's going to be good. So that was a really good way to find a manufacturer for us. And ended up having video calls, getting quotes obviously, and then we picked a manufacturer. I was then lucky enough to get the chance to go to Shanghai, which ended up being super valuable. And especially in the early stages, I didn't know if it was going to be worth the spend going all the way over to Shanghai to meet our manufacturers. But it meant, one, we ended up getting our product before Christmas.
Brilliant.
So that was a big key checkpoint. But that trip led us to meeting the supply manager of the warehouse group, which is the reason we're now in the warehouse. So both combined with establishing a good relationship with our manufacturer.
Was that just a one-off, or coincidental?
So I did a post on LinkedIn saying that I was going to be in Shanghai, and if anyone wanted to meet, and chat, and the supply manager, who's from New Zealand and now lives over in Shanghai,
That's so good.
he got tagged and basically invited us to come hang out at the warehouse group headquarters over in Shanghai.
That's awesome.
And I did, as well as my 2 other shareholders, and we were there for probably over 2 hours, showed them the game, chatting through it. And yeah, that day on the phone with the New Zealand buyer saying we're stocking Sharenanigans when it's here. So yeah, LinkedIn.
Kudos to the warehouse. I actually bought this game from the warehouse. And look, I see you've got it in lots of different places. Yep. Valentine's, warehouse. I actually told someone came into my office before, one of our clients, and he goes, "What's this game about?" And I started telling him, and he goes, "Oh, this is awesome." And he goes, and he was showing me something he was sharing with his daughter this morning around if you invested, I think it was $100 for so long, blah, blah, blah. It'd be $1 million by the time you're 18 or 65 or something.
Yeah.
And his daughter was like, "Dad, I've got no idea what you're talking about." And she goes, he sent back, "Don't worry, I'll teach you." And she goes, "Thank you." And then he was like, and then I said about this game, and I was like, "Go and buy it at the warehouse." So, and he's going down to the warehouse to get it. So that's cool. That is very cool though. Like, this is the power. Seriously, this is the power of social media. This is the power of, it's the power of media, because in the day, media got you the 20 or the 40 grand, using the media got you in front of a whole bunch of people, and 7 Sharp may have got you over the line, which is awesome because of the reach of that they have. But then also, like the fact that you put it out on LinkedIn and then someone tagged the person, how cool is that? Like that's a game changer today. And I think that's one of the things people don't understand. Like I think you got tagged in a post that I put up. Who else should I interview, right?
Yeah.
So now we're having an interview, right? Who knows where this goes? I think we'll sell quite a few games because of this podcast. We'll have people going to the warehouse, and going and getting it, and that's media, right? And I think the media landscape has changed. One of the coolest things, though, and this is something I always say to people now: you must get face to face.
Oh yes,
because it's so easy not to go to Shanghai.
Yeah.
We'll just do it online. We'll just do it online. We'll just blah, blah. But your business needed sales before Christmas,
Yeah.
So go face to face, look them in the eye and do a deal.
Yeah.
And here you are, you're at the warehouse before Christmas and you've got your product, and that's, sometimes as entrepreneurs and as business owners, we have to back ourselves.
Oh, 100%.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you're over there. What'd you learn? What'd you learn about dealing, in China and getting this board game to hit the New Zealand shores?
I mean, one, the scale. Anyone who leaves New Zealand and realizes the scale of anything overseas is pretty amazing.
We're tiny, eh?
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
And you start to realize, I think there's this negative connotation around manufacturing in China. And it's not to say that there is some bad things that do happen over there, but you realize why it's so much cheaper. And you walk into their factory and their printers, and the printers are the size of probably, in a room or bigger. It fills up the whole warehouse. Yeah. They're printing 16,000 boards an hour. Yeah. And why would we have that in New Zealand?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need that scale. Yep. That's why it's so much cheaper. I mean, the whole thing's animated. They're good at what they do. They spend a lot of money on these processes. Totally. And you're like, wow, there's a lot.
The level of professionalism is another level.
Oh, yeah.
Interviewed a guy, Glenn, on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. It'll come out, I think, in July. They are in the plastics industry and they bring a lot of machinery in from China. And he kind of laughs a wee bit because you can either have the Chinese-made product with Chinese products, or you can have the Chinese-made product with European-made machinery parts. And like, so he just said it's so cool, but they're so advanced in their thinking. Yeah. And I think that's, you mentioned scale, and I think that's added to that, their innovation. Is why they can do stuff and bring it and make it affordable for you to make a game.
Yeah, you walk around Shanghai and you see the innovation that's in the city alone. I mean, the whole city works off one app where that's your transport, your money, everything. Yeah. But once again, they have the scale to be able to do those things. Yeah. So yeah, it was a massive eye opener, but also on a relationship level of really understanding like what it means to, I suppose, establish these more professional relationships. I think in New Zealand, we're kind of you go out for coffee,
Yeah.
have a yarn, probably not even too business focused, and then it's there. But it was really good for me to establish these relationships with a lot more professionalism.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed that side and experiencing that side.
Tell me about the TikTok you created from, because did you leave your game behind or something? Like,
I thought this might come up. My most viral video, yay.
oh, good. But once again, turning something into something, right?
Yes,
and that's good content, right?
Yeah. I forgot the one thing I needed to take to China, and that was the board game. Because as soon as we got off the plane, we were meeting, I don't think it was the warehouse. We were meeting someone else over there, and it's slipped my mind, that's bad, but we needed the sample with us. And got to the airport, sat down, and Clive, shareholder, says, Alli, did you pack the game in your main bag? I was like, oh no, and he already knew what the answer was going to be, so that's why he was filming.
Brilliant.
Forgot
Clive
it.
Anthony, good man. He's a good man.
Clive Anthony, and so that got chucked up on TikTok, and 300,000 views later.
Like, some people leave your passport behind, but you left the game behind. So do you obviously go back and get it and all that sort of stuff, and like?
No, so I tried to ring Dad, as any daughter does, is Dad's going to solve the problem. He could not. So I got on the phone with manufacturers, or emailed them and said, hey, could you get us a sample to our hotel? So within the time our flight took, they had either they had a sample already done, or they quickly printed out a new digital sample and got that driven over to our hotel. So once again, their ability to just make things happen, and they are yes men. Yes man. Like, they make whatever you need possible. But that was big crisis averted.
Hey, look, and I think that's the coolest part, because sometimes when you're in the fire, things go wrong, but it's how you kind of move through it and deal with the things and keep moving forward, right? Because look at it now, so that is pretty cool.
I'm now known by a lot of people as the board game girl. So well, when I say a lot of people, probably just around Christchurch, but they see that video and it might just be that video, but I'll take it.
Well, hey, as you say, like getting that PR, getting media, that's all part of it. Where do you see Sharenanigans as a game going? Where's the future for you in this?
So we want to keep on growing the sales of Sharenanigans. So right now we're looking.
Go to the warehouse.
At the warehouse, please. But we're looking at working with distributors in UK, Australia, Canada,
nice.
And started looking at Singapore. So that's Sharenanigans side of it. We've actually got a card game coming out in the middle of this year. So a card game version of Sharenanigans.
That'd be cool.
Stack and Steel, keep an eye out.
Nice.
And what we are really trying to do is grow a games hub. So the company that I own is Flip the Table Games. One of our brands within that is Sharenanigans.
Cool.
Another one is about to be Sharenanigans Stack and Steel. What I've really seen is going through this journey is that it's incredibly hard to get products on retail shelves if you've only got one product. And also it takes a bit, and it takes a bit of selling. New Zealand has an amazing board game community that create very high quality, fun to play games, but they never get to see the light of day. One, they're not the people that want to get involved in business and selling. Or two, it's only one game and retail stores don't see the point of opening an account. Plus you could imagine how many people are approaching them.
True.
So we want to basically grow Flip the Table Games into a hub of New Zealand designed games that help them reach the global market and in New Zealand's major retail stores. So that's our next.
That's awesome. So if someone has a game idea, they can come to you and you will help them through the process of getting the game to market? Or will you look at it and go, actually, might not make market, or what's?
We definitely, there'll be some screening involved if it doesn't match kind of our overall portfolio. But any stage, it might just be an idea and we can help with either in the manufacturing and that side of it. This is, I suppose, in a stretched out timeline of what we aim to do. But we're looking at a new game every quarter, moving on from this year onwards, and really creating kind of basically New Zealand games
So
made for the world stage.
you did the right degree then. Your thinking around innovation and entrepreneurship is starting to really kick in now, right? Like you're seeing other opportunities to grow something bigger than just one game, right? And that's pretty cool, right? So
Yeah.
so you're thinking on a daily, what opportunities are you looking for? Like when you start to think of, hey, is it flip the table games?
Yeah.
What opportunities are you looking for?
As in new
So
games?
or just even other opportunities. Like obviously, looking at this and getting this into other markets, like another iteration and what I see in some games now is you have this game, but then you have these extension
Yes,
packs.
yeah.
And I started playing this game and I started thinking of extension packs that I'd be doing with it and stuff like that. And, obviously before when people made games, even if you look at Monopoly, right? Monopoly has a version of most major cities in the world. It has different licensing agreements now. They've turned that one game into multiple income streams. And I think that's a great opportunity. It comes first with having a good product that everyone wants to play. I think you probably tick that box. If my son's got anything to say, and even like talking to people who have played it, the content is good. So I believe people come for the content, but they stay for the community. So there's even a whole community aspect to building this game that I think you are either tapping into or could get into. But where do you see, where does your entrepreneurial brain start going?
Yeah, there's definitely two parts to it. So one, I think it will be hard for my passion not to be just shenanigans. That's that financial literacy and the area that comes from. So when we're looking at that, obviously now with financial literacy being made compulsory in schools, there's a whole new kind of market that's opened up there for us, which is a more educational wing. So that's either coming with an educational resource packet as well, but we're already in about 60 secondary schools around New Zealand, just with teachers purchasing a class set. But yeah, there's a whole educational side that I'm really passionate about. I'm a facilitator in high schools for business workshops, so it kind of goes hand in hand with that. So I'm always curious about that end of it, but that's more of I suppose, the helping of community rather than the driver of the business and sales. When it's flipped the table, we're looking at what does the global market look like? And really trying to look at different countries, the way that different markets respond, and what our customers are like in all these different markets that we're looking at. So I suppose there's this like growth and global aspect that I like, but still keeping in touch with shenanigans and what that's all about.
Yeah, because is the global market for games increasing?
It is.
I would say it is too.
Yeah. Since COVID, the games market has just been on the uprise. What we're seeing
is right of playing games.
Parents sick of their kids being on devices, and I'm not a parent, but I'm speaking for what I've heard from customers.
You're speaking for me. Not sick of it, but like want some alternative, right?
Yeah.
And I think we at Christmas time, we get a caravan, we hire it, we go camping, we play Last Card, we play all Monopoly Deal. All these games that we do play, and we have a good time doing it as a family, And so this is another extension of that, right? Being able to have another game that we can play as a family that's interested, that, like kids actually want to play. Versus, not.
My favorite bit of feedback I got was actually a letter written by a 12-year-old boy, and it was about how it was basically the first game that he had played with his 8-year-old sister and 18-year-old brother.
Oh, wow.
And they had all played it, and they were all engaged in the game for almost a whole day.
That is
and
cool.
The mum who sent me it, she couldn't believe that all her kids of all ages were so evenly engaged. But then the conversation and the questions that the game generated afterwards were all at such varying levels. So it's what their minds took away from the game. But each and every one of them led to another conversation that they then wanted to have with the parents.
How good is that? Because like one, you've got siblings at different ages playing together, and for the 18-year-old to, the last thing, when he probably started playing it was wanting to sit down there with a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, but then all of a sudden was engaged with it because of the game. and all those conversations that come out of it. One thing we were playing last night, and I didn't shuffle the cards, and my son and my wife both got index cards straight away, like the fun index cards.
Yeah.
So they were off to the races, and then my son said, "Oh, Dad, you didn't shuffle the cards. You better shuffle them." And I was like, "Yeah, you're making them shuffle them after you've just got those 2 cards." And I was like, "So I'm behind the 8 ball." I love the gameplay of the backwards and forwards of the market and stuff like that. It really is well thought out. And some of the mischief around it with the wolf and the fat cat, and there's very cool as well.
I had to throw that in there to make it a bit more competitive.
Yeah, it does make it competitive, right? Because at the end of the day, you're going for a goal and you want to achieve, and that's another thing you're sitting down to talk about, and going for goals, which I think is really, really cool inside it. When you look at your business, you look 5 years from now. Where do you see yourself? Obviously, do you see this really as a expanding empire, and you're doing this full time, like really taking this to the world?
Our goal actually in 5 years is to have it at a place to sell.
Cool.
Whether
is that the flip the table or the shares shenanigans?
That's kind of what I think I've really got to figure out now. Is right now we're building Sharenanigans and flip the table games. Flip the table games will be what we sell. Technically Sharenanigans will be under that.
Nice.
Whether we keep that separately and go down more of the education path, that's what I'm really passionate about. I really enjoyed that side of it. And
is that educating people on the financial literacy side of things? Not
just the investment side, but I really like the concept of taking subjects that people don't think they're capable of because they haven't been exposed to them. So this is also business.
Yeah, cool.
And being like, actually, it's anyone can get started. Yeah. So business, investing, whatever it might be, those sort of things. I see myself in that facilitator space for a long time in the workshop space. Right now my full time is Sharenanigans and flip the tables. But 5-year plan is to sell it.
Okay, good.
What that completely looks like, I need to work that out this year. But yeah.
I just like the fact that you've got a 5-year plan. Because if I asked a few people if they had they would say no, I don't have a 5-year plan. And I think, like the fact that you're thinking about this is really cool.
I enjoy building things. I don't want to run a corporation with lots of people. I want to build, sell, build, sell.
Yeah, and add value to the marketplace along the way, which is very cool. The feedback that you're obviously getting from people is that it's a game that's bringing people together. What do you think is a gift that creating this game has given you?
There's 2 sides of this. Every time I get positive feedback from customers, or I hear stories of parents and the conversations that they're now having with kids, or even the drive it's given parents to now get involved in learning more about the share market, any sort of feedback like that, kind of reestablish why I started this and that problem that I initially set out to solve. But 2, just starting a business from scratch, I think 1, the confidence, which is such a, I suppose, cliche answer, but if you want to start a business, you've actually just got to do scary stuff that I think it's easy to avoid. And like when I had a graduate job, you don't have to step outside of your comfort zone too much.
No.
And that's not to say for everyone, but what I find with business is that you're kind of forced into situations that you should really do, and you do them and you're like, hey, that actually wasn't that bad. And now, say 2 years on of now starting Sharenanigans and working on it, the stuff that I used to find scary is nothing anymore, and once you get that mindset of, the whole feel the fear and do it anyway. You realize, there's actually a lot you can accomplish.
Yeah, and you start to realize that you're capable of more too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's go there then, because let's talk to people that are thinking of starting a business. Maybe some young people or even, you know, some older people now looking to start a business, what would you say? What are 5 things you'd give them that they would need to do? Knowing what you know now, you know, things that you've learned, what are 5 things they should do to get their business off the ground?
I always say if you really want to start a business, even if you don't have an idea but you just want to get started, start having coffees with people. I was once told 20 coffee meetings can change your life, and I truly believe that in a business or career sense, especially in New Zealand. Reach out to people that you see that are in a field that you're interested in, or people that you look up to on LinkedIn even. Like, you'd be amazed how willing people are to just for a video call. But especially in New Zealand, you sit down with someone, you say, you know, tell me your journey, learn things from them. But if you do have an idea and a business idea, you start talking about that to more people, and they go, oh, I know this person, you should chat with them. Your next meeting's lined up. You talk to them, they say the same thing. And all of a sudden, you're miles ahead just from talking to people, being connected, and they'll give you, oh, you should go away and do this. So go away and do that. And your pathway is then outlined by other people who know more than you.
Totally. Love it. Yeah. I love that idea, and I love when people implement that idea. It was advice I was given early on. Go and talk to people, go and buy this person lunch, go and do this, and this. The crazy part about it is I always thought, oh, no one would want to talk to you. Actually, heaps of people want to talk to you. Yeah. You know, the smartest people, and I don't want to put on wealthy people, but the most wealthy people actually will give you their time. Yep. Like they want to actually help other people. And that's one of the things I found, you know, growing a business. Other successful people want you to be successful. Yeah, 100%. You know, and I was brought up in a mindset that in a belief system that wasn't true. And it wasn't until I started meeting successful people and they started giving me their time and started wanting to help me that I realized my beliefs were wrong. So definitely go and have coffee, be willing to learn, be willing to listen, and be also, if they give you some good stuff, give them some feedback, you know, go and implement and then give them some feedback 100%. Saying, hey, thank you. We've had a couple of people come in here and asking questions about what would they do, what does an employer look for when hiring? And it's brilliant for them to come. I'll give them half an hour of my time and share exactly what I'm looking for, because there's a whole bunch of people that give you exactly what you're not looking for. And I'd rather have people applying for jobs here that make my life a lot easier versus having me go for all these stupid AI written CVs today. Yeah. You know? So, okay, number one is a game changer. Go and have 20 coffees.
Yeah. Number 2, I would say so many. Start building a community early. Yep. It is way easier nowadays in social media for organic posting to build a community when you don't have a product ready to sell. Yep. People love to back a founder that's in the process, the underdog, creating something. And what that does is people are then part of your journey. When you have the finished product, they feel like they've been a part of that. Yeah. And they buy it, and now they're loyal customers, and you've kind of built that long-term customer as well in the process. But yeah, don't wait till you have a finished. I'm speaking for probably more products here, maybe. But
seen a couple of young guys do it recently with a mini golf course they're building in Christchurch. They were getting people, you know, in the community, and they were building it along the way. And I think that's a real cool use of it as well. You know, 100%. Bringing people along that journey. And I guess, you know, that was part of what you did really well too, right? You know, even once you did it before you had the Pledge Me, but then after Pledge Me, you had that community really wanting you to win.
Yes, yeah. And I wish that I started building the community before the Pledge Me. So I was told, don't start building a community at the same time as you launch a Pledge Me, like bring the community. So I do wish, like, all those game trials that we were having when I was doing different MVPs, when I was initially talking to manufacturers, I wish I was documenting that and just slapping that up. It doesn't need to be high quality, but it's a story for people to follow. Yeah. And if I could, because it made it harder. I was trying to build a following and build a community at the same time I was trying to raise the Pledge Me funds. So I always say start as early as you can. Nice. As soon as you've got the idea, start documenting it. I constantly say as well that TikTok was the scariest. My very first TikTok was the scariest thing I've ever done in business. And it wasn't because I was like, oh, 1 million people could see this, but it was, I don't want the 100 people that I do know from university and high school and my friends to see this. I was like, what if, they bully me? But turns out no one actually cares. And it's not that bad. So just start posting.
That is a great takeaway. No one actually cares. Like everyone thinks that people are sitting there, worrying about them or thinking about them, but they're actually not. They've got their own stuff to think of. And you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not out there, putting your content out there. I think a lot of people do actually need to hear that, that the fact that sometimes, just taking your phone out and talking to it and letting people in is a great way of documenting your process. And here's someone who's good at it. Like I've watched some of your stuff. You're very good at it.
I don't do it enough.
But at the same time, you had to start somewhere, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's people start to people, and platforms like TikTok and Instagram. You see it on LinkedIn as well, but that's where you can really engage with your customers and with your community in a much more organic, just talking to them type way. They feel like they're more a part of something and you're their friend, just having a casual chat about something that just went wrong rather than all what went right. It is important to kind of have like if you see my TikTok, it's just Alli Kennedy Sharenanigans, which is more just a personal thing rather than our Instagram, which is Sharenanigans, and that's more where we're kind of more converting into sales. So it's
nice.
We've looked at how to get those two things.
That's very cool. Like obviously using the platforms. Is that like are you just learning by what you're doing there, or you're being very strategic in what you're
definitely learning by doing is a lot of it. And like we'll have strategy around our Instagram and I suppose a long-term strategy. But as for what we're posting things, especially in the early stages, you've just kind of got to see what sticks. That's what TikTok is great for, is you can spam it, you see what works, and then chuck the videos that work on your Instagram. It's a great way to do it. You can post 100 videos on TikTok in a day if you wanted, and it just goes up on people's For You page, see what sticks.
See what sticks, see what they're interested in. Yeah. That's very cool. Okay, number 3.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I've gone off on a tangent.
You've gone really good to start with. Like you've got coffees, and you got building a community. What would be number 3?
I'll try fly through the rest of them. Number 3 would be start getting something in front of people as soon as possible. Kind of sounds like number 2, but
MVP.
Yeah, MVP. As soon as you can start getting any sort of feedback from potential customers, that's how you're going to have the best product or service. You don't want to spend money and time on something and then get it in front of someone and they don't want to buy it. It is, a waste. We saw it with, I like the story of the Segway, where
totally.
He kept that a secret. It was a secret innovation. He didn't want to tell people because he was scared that someone would steal the idea. But he convinced himself and the people working for him that it was going to be the next big thing and it was going to take over cars. Released it, it wasn't that. And it's because he never talked to potential customers. That's probably an extreme example, but people waste a lot of time and money.
I see this all the time. I'm going to go do a talk tonight and I'll be talking about ideas and stuff. And there'll be people there with ideas and I will talk to them about and they'll go, I can't tell you because it's my idea. And I'm like, but like I'm just going to want to brainstorm. And they'll go, I can't tell you because it's my idea. And I'm like, I'm telling you right now, unless you get an order form, a minimal viable product in an order form, you're not going to go anywhere because your idea is probably already being done. What's not being done is you bringing it to the market and your ideas. So definitely getting something ready, getting an order form and going out there and selling it, getting in front of people who can and could, buy your product.
I think you've got to talk. You've got to be willing to talk, and this is open innovation. Talk about your product right from day one, and that's when you're going for these coffee meetings. If you're not willing to talk about your idea, well, how is someone meant to lead you to the right person or whatever it might be? But that's where marketing is really important. Is you can have the right brand, the right tone, the right people behind the brand. Then they might copy your idea, but technically, what you have shouldn't be able to be copied. They can't copy a community you've created.
No, and they can't copy you and the enthusiasm you bring to it and the innovation that you bring to the idea too. Love that one. Number 4.
Number 4, they're all going to end up kind of tying in together, but number 4 would be, especially at the beginning, say yes to as many things as bloody possible. I truly believe in the networking effect and saying yes to speaking in front of even 5 people
Yep.
or going on podcasts.
Because you got to sell it, right?
Oh,
and this is the thing I think a lot of people don't understand. You've got to say yes. You've got to sell it.
Yeah, you do. And
like no one's going to sell it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where if you can get face-to-face with people, if you can go to as many networking events as possible, be willing to talk to people, that's sometimes the part that I miss out as I stand near the food table too much. But
look, we all do that.
Yeah.
You know?
There's sometimes you just those days. But going on anything, I think I was recently told by someone who's starting a podcast, got on this big speaker and asked them, why were you willing to come on my podcast? Like there might only be 10 listeners. And he said, well, if I come on here and share my story and my knowledge and my lessons and things like that to only 10 people, well, that's 10 people that now know those things. I could have sat down with them individually and had an hour-long coffee meeting, but that's 10 hours. He's like, I've now done this in an hour-long podcast. And I truly believe that anytime I've done something small, it has led to someone then reaching out and it's led to somewhere. So it's no longer what I initially thought about going viral and getting massive reach. It's just who you're getting in front of is actually what matters.
Well, the cool thing about it is it all stacks up to being viral, you know, and like like the person just said, if you had 10 of your ideal customers standing right in front of you, would you take that? You know, of course you would. You do it every day. The cool part about media today is you can have that one-to-many conversation. So, you know, whether on a podcast or doing social media, etc., you do have the opportunity to get in front of more people. So I think saying yes is a good idea. And, you know, like if you want to have some more confidence in saying yes, I would just say to people, hey, go to these networking events. And if you really struggle, maybe go to something like Toastmasters and get some engagement, or go to some of these networking things that have a bit more, you know, people helping you with the engagement. You know, because I can understand it's a scary thing, but no one's going to sell this game better than you, right? And that's just the way it is. You know, no one's going to sell.
I want to hire them. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I always say to people, you know, like when I do this talk tonight, is anyone good at cold calling? No one will put their hand up. One guy put their hand up and said, right, you're hired. You know, because if you're prepared to do that in a good way and you're good at it, then we'll give you a job. But, you know, like I'm passionate about the podcast. I'm passionate about digital influence. There's no one better to go out there and, you know, talk to people tonight about it. Like it's mine. So, you know, say yes and be prepared. Also be prepared to get a few no's.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, when you go out there and put yourself out there, guess what's going to happen? Yeah. But that's all part of it, right?
Oh, getting rejected just becomes, I suppose, part of motivation.
Yeah.
Like I think back to some of the no's that I got at the start, and now I think, it really wasn't that big of a deal as I thought it was. Or they end up reaching back out, whatever it is.
One of our big clients got turned down by one of the biggest building supply companies in New Zealand. 3 years later, they wrote letters asking to be let back in the deal, and it was like, you know, like you could let that stop you, or you could let that empower you. And I think, you know, real entrepreneurs keep going. Because they understand the why, they understand the vision, and they understand the purpose of what they're doing. The purpose is not just to sell a few games. It's actually to make a movement that I'm going to empower people in conversations. You're doing something bigger than just making a few bucks off a game here. Like making money is a byproduct of the value that you'll add to the market. You'll make a lot more money in years to come because of what you've done with this game than you will have from just selling this game. Trust me, I know that from business.
Yeah, you know, it's a personal, I suppose, a personal marketing standpoint as well. You know,
totally.
It's setting yourself up for
bigger things to come.
Yeah, seriously, future career and everything like that.
When you add value to a marketplace, the marketplace does reward you. It might reward you in weird ways, but I tell you what, it does reward you, and you just have to stay in the game long enough for it to really kick in. Yeah. And I know this from an old school entrepreneur guy that I am now. Number 5, let's finish strong.
Right, number 5. I've got 2, but I will.
You can have 5A and 5B.
I'll have 5A and 5B, and I'll
you can
try
actually
and
have
make
a wolf
them quick.
And a fat cat.
Yeah, I'm bad at making things quick, but I'll try. Okay, my wolf then would be, and this comes from Clive Anthony, one of the first things he said when he became a mentor of mine. He said to me, "Don't be a dick."
Nice.
And he because this is when I used to not back myself. Yep. It was going to networking events, and I was almost embarrassed to say my business is a board game, especially when you're amongst a lot of other founders who are running either more established things or they're working on products that sound a lot more something than a board game. And it would kind of get to me, and I would never back myself or sell myself or the board game. And he said it doesn't matter if you're the smartest person, the richest person, only female, whatever it might be, the number one thing in business is to not be a dick. And because if you're talking to someone now, guarantee the world that we live in the future, they'll be the decision maker for something that you need in the future. Cool. So that's A.
I like that.
Most people, I think, already know that and go along with it, but it's always a good reminder.
Totally. 2,
this is kind of now left field from everything we've discussed, but learn how to use AI and ChatGPT. It honestly changed my life, just learning a little bit more about it. And that's a whole nother topic that you could go on. But don't I suppose discredit it until you've really learned a bit more about it and tried it in any sort of little courses or anything like that you can pick up and do.
Yeah.
And it's not about it thinking for you, but it's, if you know the direction you need to move in, it can really help you move at a speed that you're, especially when you're a solo person working day to day. Man, it's my wingman.
I like it. Everyone should have an assistant. Everyone should have an AI assistant. I believe, it's thought partnership to your thought leadership, and you I read something really cool the other day by a guy called John Gian. He was talking about AI and how they were using it inside their businesses. And he was, they're very creatives, and they were talking, AI is not coming for creatives, it's coming with creatives. And I really, really love that. Like, you've got to lean into this thing called AI, because end of the day, I spoke at university a couple of years ago, actually Michael's Drew's course. And I could tell there was the people in the room was very, very scared of what was happening with AI. And I get it as a young person. Look, you could see it as something that's where are the jobs going to be? Who's taking my jobs? What, even as business owners that I talk to, but you got to get involved, and you got to get involved in that conversation, and you've got to have, ChatGPT and all these Geminis and everything, like, they're platforms that you can just use to get productivity gains like you've never seen before.
Yeah.
And so I would say too, get involved and start learning how to use it. Like we started 2 years ago, just getting it in our back, and now we're doing some pretty amazing stuff with it. But
100%.
But you've got to be willing to go in and learn.
Yes, yeah. I got stuck in a real big rut of just feeling like I wanted a job where I could rock up, have a boss to tell me what needed to be done, and I could go do it. Being a founder, that was always up to me. I then basically got on ChatGPT, and I have now created my boss or my assistant, kind of goes both ways, where I check in every morning, quick stand up, and every evening. And I give in what my calendar, anything like that, and then all agendas from meetings, action points and things that I need to do. And it creates me my schedule. I then submit each of those things that it tells me to do and ticks them off for me. And then tells me, right, for the next hour you're working on this. You've now only got 45 minutes because the traffic to your next meeting is like this. But the things it can do is absolutely incredible. You've just, you've kind of, what your prompts are and things like that, you do have to learn those things, but it can really change the way you work.
We have a bunch of custom GPTs in this office that help us brainstorm, help us close deals, help us present ideas. And look, we are just bringing our strategic thought to its thought partnership. Like like, it's read more, it's done more than you'll ever get to, right? So why wouldn't you leverage that? But what you're doing is you're being the director of it, and it's the people that give over their power. Write me an email. I was like, well, that's not.
Or write me a caption.
That's just not how you want to be
More
using
to it.
You want to be, Hey, this has been a cool chat. Where do people get hold of you? Like, and also, obviously, I've mentioned the warehouse, but where else can people get this game? Firstly, where can people get hold of you and have a chat? If they've got a game, or like, or seriously, just as a young entrepreneur want to have a chat.
LinkedIn, Alli Kennedy on LinkedIn. Just message me, send me a connection. Otherwise, alli@sharenanigans.co.nz is the email.
We'll put all these details in the show notes as well. And if they're buying the game, I've already said the warehouse. But where else can you buy? Can you buy online?
So you can buy online on the website. The warehouse is probably the easiest for a lot of people.
Warehouse have got a really good deal at the moment.
They do. That biggest deal yet.
You can get it for $50.
Yeah.
Like, if this is not out by the time that deal's gone. Buy it anyway, because seriously, it's worth it. Like the value in the entertainment, totally worth it.
Yeah. Also Harper, Ballantyne's, and a few of the other bookstores around the place as well. So,
Alli, I'm going to get you to sign this one once we finish this. I'm going to get you to sign this game. The reason I want you to sign it is we have a number of charity partners, and over the year we'll do a number of, they'll have auctions and stuff like that. I'm going to put together a package, and this game will be part of it.
Wow,
so
that's
if you could sign
Thank
it,
you.
that'd be great, and we'll give that away. Any last things you'd like to share?
Not that I can think of.
Hey,
actually, you kind of talked about the toothpick story, but so I went to Scott's talk probably a year ago. I don't normally write down things in a notepad, but I wrote down one thing from the talk, and it was, and you've already said it in this, which is funny, but it changed my whole perspective on it, which is people don't buy what they need, they buy what they want. So you've got to tie into like their desires when you're marketing. And I just think, it's funny that I'm now sitting on your podcast, because I have basically an empty notebook, but that's one thing that's still written in it.
Well, the thing for me is it was a really sharp lesson, you know, and I thought, you know, this person needed to buy these plastic toothpicks when actually what they wanted was just the beer and like this wooden toothpick. And it was a moment in time when I look back, and I will tell this story tonight when I'm educating this group of people, because I see it too often. People come in with a product that they think the market needs, but the market doesn't buy what they need. The market buys what it wants. You know, solve the problem. And then listen to the market, which you did really well. So congratulations, kudos to you.
Thank you.
I love playing this game. My son loves playing this game. My wife loves playing this game.
I didn't pay him to say this, by
No,
the way.
you didn't. And as I said it before, my son said this game is better than Monopoly, and we're big Monopoly players. We actually love the card game Monopoly. So real cool to hear
we'll
that
have
you've
to
got
get the card game to you.
it's really cool that you've got a card game coming out. So hey, do me a favor, go out and buy the game. You know, look, more people in New Zealand need to understand financial literacy. If the better we can do educating our kids and even educating ourselves on this. Look, if you're my age, you know your parents. You weren't allowed to talk about money. It was one of those things that you were told you weren't allowed to do. We weren't allowed to talk about money. Well, I say let's not do that anymore. Let's have conversations. Let's have an open conversation about money with our kids. This is a great tool to start. One, it's going to get them off video games for a while. You're going to have some fun, and you'll start some conversations where, hey, who knows, as a family, you might start investing and stuff like that. So go and do that. And here's the other thing you need to do. You need to share this podcast, because at the end of the day, we're getting more and more people listening and watching. We just hit this week, #1 in New Zealand for marketing again. So thank you for exciting. That. Yeah, really appreciate it. It just shows that the people are watching and they are sharing, and we get heaps of cool feedback. So please keep that coming. Ed, look, I love your feedback. Yes, we are working on the sound quality. Hopefully, if you've heard this one, it's definitely better. But really, really appreciate you taking the time to give us that feedback. All right, guys, appreciate your time. As always, have fun and go out there, take some action. And as always, celebrate your victories.